Hello everyone, my name is AJ, and I don't have a good intro. I did not enjoy the most recent episode of The Amazing Digital Circus, and that really sucks to say because I have so far liked The Amazing Digital Circus, even though I wasn't head over heels in love with it. I had always enjoyed it. I rewatched the entire series to see if maybe I was misremembering the quality of the others, and no, that wasn't the problem. All of the other previous episodes have been marvelous. The first 3 especially were exceptional standouts. They keep your attention all the way through. The pacing was perfect, the emotional beats hit, and the action was always entertaining. Kinger's moment especially was a special standout. The series isn't afraid to give all of its characters both flaws and good parts. Every single one of the main cast feels like a real person. Episodes 4 and 5 I didn't like quite as much, but when the series is viewed as a whole instead of a collection of parts, episode 5 is a welcome breath of fresh air to slow down, have a few setups, but mostly just to chill out and let the characters talk. I still don't love episode 4, I think it's a tad weak, but that comes from my lack of empathy and not any fault of the writing. Episode 6. The title of this episode is They All Get Guns, and it was revealed a long time ago on Gooseworks Tumblr that this was going to be a Jax-centric episode. I had been dreading the Jax episode for kind of a long time, because so far he's been a fairly standard bad boy with a good heart character that, though fun to watch at times, felt very cliche. Even in episode 5 where it's hinted that he has trauma and we can assume that's why he acts out, that didn't really get me interested in the character. Oh no, your friend died and that's why you suck. How original. So when I saw the title and the thumbnail, I was relieved. Oh thank goodness, we're about to have a fun romp where they shoot each other with like lots of Jax-centric stuff where he just has fun and we bond with the character without getting like any super deep insights probably. When Kane initially brought out the gun, it was supposed to be for a trust building exercise, and Jax ruined it immediately by shooting Ragatha without even going into the room. So Kane gives up entirely and gives them guns to play with instead. They all pair up into teams of 2 and have to find guns that are scattered around the circus. Then they shoot the other guys who all have 3 lives each. I was so excited. I was so ready to sit in and enjoy an episode where the characters just have fun and bond with each other, and then subtlety died. Once the game starts, the first conversation between Jax and Pomni is frankly a really lame discussion about their morality of shooting the other players. Jax asks Pomni who she's going to kill first, and she says,
I don't know if I'll really be doing much of the killing. I'll just find guns for you, and you can do all the violent stuff. You like that, right?
What? What do you mean? That's the point of the game! It's been established previously that nobody can really feel pain, just discomfort. Saying that you don't want to shoot your friends in a game about shooting people is like saying that you don't want to shoot your friends during paintball, or you don't want to tap your friend during tag. It's a game! Have fun! I know that this is the point of the discussion for her to be in complete opposition to Jax, who think it is okay to shoot people during the game, but the way it was framed made it seem like this was Pomni being seduced into the dark side just a little bit. And maybe I'm just being really uncharitable about this, but there are so many good arguments that Jax easily could have made that were never brought up. Honestly, I think it's really bizarre that Pomni was in such opposition to shooting other players during the game, when so far she's been established as a fairly cognizant woman. But no, instead we have Jax going on this extremely meta diatribe about being cartoon characters and falling into tropes. I do think that this is some interesting lore that over time people in the circus lose who they are and become archetypes. I think that's actually a really interesting idea, but the way that this is communicated to us is completely devoid of subtlety. This is a blatant exposition dump, and it feels forced, unnatural, and uncanny. People don't talk like this. I am glad that there was at least some nuance given here, Jax teaching Pomni that because they're cartoon characters, embracing cartoon logic instead of trying to fight it will work out better for them. I think that this is important exposition to deliver, but the way that it was delivered was just so completely clunky. I think that Jax pointing out that they're cartoon characters especially is just incorrect. They all got into the circus by putting on a headset, right? So why is he comparing them to a TV show? It's too meta to the point where it's just painful and cringy. He should have been comparing the way that the circus warps them to video games instead of to cartoons. It would have made more in-universe sense. I did love the parts where they were actually shooting each other. That was a lot of fun. This show is incredibly good at action. The animation is gorgeous and it's so much fun. The characters play wonderfully off each other when the show is just letting itself be a cartoon instead of ranting about philosophy. The biggest problem with this episode is that there just wasn't enough gun action. The worst individual part of the episode by far, though, is the boring lesbians. This has to be single-handedly the most boring pair of lesbians I have ever seen. It's worse than Charlie and Vaggie. It's worse than Amity and Luz. They are so boring. They are the most boring lesbians ever. All they do is support each other. Every time you see them on screen, you know exactly what's going to happen. Zubul is going to comfort Gangle. That's the only thing that's ever happened anytime they speak to each other. This scene is especially egregious because it's just a longer rehash of the ending scene of episode 4. It feels out of place in an episode that's supposed to be about Jax, and more importantly, guns! It grinds the pace of the episode to a screeching halt, only to reveal zero new information. This scene should have been in either episode 4 or 5. Putting it in this episode directly after cutting away from an action scene with nothing in between the two in order for the pace to slow down naturally is just wrong. Like, I'm not against this ship. I think it's a cute one. Why is it so boring? They could have easily put in like 3 seconds where Zubul and Gangle flee the previous scene and hunker down to hide for a minute. The scene would have still been boring and awful and unnecessary, but it would have felt like a natural inclusion. I would go on a rant about how frustrated I am with how so many lesbian couples are written to be the most boring, soul-draining thing ever when they have so much potential to be interesting and engaging, but I'm saving that for another video. All of the Kinger scenes were great. Kinger is easily the best character in the cast. He's highly entertaining. The scene in the dark that follows directly after the boring lesbians, where he fights both Pomni and Jax in the dark, was wonderful. The most interesting lore in this episode came from him, where he made up a butterfly with healing powers. He also tries out an insane move where he tries to ricochet his last bullet in an insane way to try and get both Pomni and Jax at the same time and gets hit with his own bullet. This is a great bit of actually subtle characterization. This happens in the dark, so we know he's fully conscious and still decided to do something crazy. Kinger was probably always the crazy one, even before he lost his wife and actually lost his mind, and I love that. I love Kinger, he's the best. His scene with Ragatha was also very good, and it was the only time where I've actually liked Ragatha. I dislike Ragatha a lot. It's not her fault, she's a well-written character and she's not a terrible person or anything. It's just that I've known a lot of people like her in real life, overly clingy people who take everything really personally, whether it be simple teasing, your need for space, or having a preference for other people. They take your preferences and personality as an insult or an implication that they're not good enough, and then they cry, and it's your fault they're upset. Whether or not they guilt you doesn't matter because you feel bad for having hurt their feelings. Ragatha doesn't do the guilting part of this type of person, thank goodness, but her oversensitivity is hurting her relationships with the people around her, and it infuriates me. I can't stand it. I find it deeply triggering. Is this a fault of the show or writing? No. Just because I don't like something or find it triggering or just don't enjoy watching certain types of characters, does that make them bad? No, of course not. That would be ridiculous. Long story short, I dislike Ragatha because she's trying to hold sand by clenching it in her fist, so having Kinger start the discussion about her negative behavior was really satisfying. Kinger's voice actor is incredibly talented. His delivery feels very warm and loving. I don't know how he does it. There's not really any subtlety in this scene either, but at least it feels right this time. It was fitting. Now to the scene that I've been working up to, the scene directly after Zubul's death. I don't even know where to start with how to talk about this. Jax stops playing, ruins the mood, and starts coping harder than a Star Wars fan in 2025. He insists that none of the fun that they had together today meant anything, which is such complete and utter bull excrement that even someone who is blind and deaf with no sense of smell or taste would be able to identify it as such. Pomni reads this man like a children's book printed entirely in large bold font and containing only 3 words, and he breaks down like a little bawling little baby. Lil bro couldn't commit to his own bit. He easily could have avoided confrontation with both Pomni and his own emotions if he had just lazily agreed and blown it off. If she means so little to you, then you don't have to explain yourself to her. I know that that's the point of the scene. Oh, he really does care, and he's in denial as a defense mechanism to protect himself. I don't care. He's trying too hard. He's trying too hard and it hurts. Jax in this scene is acting like a Reddit moderator, desperately trying to look cool and mysterious. Let's call him what he is. An incel. Jax is an incel. I love that Pomni started fighting him here. He deserved that. Regrettably, the most cringe lines to have ever been written and spoken aloud came directly after, which ruined a good thing.
You are my playthings, and I get joy out of making you suffer. I'm the one who causes pain for fun. If I led you on, it was just to make this part hurt you more.
Yeah, right, buddy. Don't forget to eat something with your pills. Wouldn't want you to get a tummy ache. I just can't stand the way this is written. Like, I know that that's the point, but the point, it's terrible. It's really difficult to listen to because people don't speak like this. It's so annoying. Another thing that really annoyed me here is that there was a loaded gun that didn't go off. It was right there, it was loaded, and it didn't go off. There were so many times where it could have, and it would have been a satisfying way to end the scene. Instead, it just ends! No bang! Why? This is the definition of Chekhov's gun, and it didn't happen! I don't understand how you could even write this. It's such a poorly written scene, and it feels so completely out of place for what is otherwise a very good show. Also, I don't care about Jax's little panic attack in the bathroom. There is nothing that Jax could have possibly gone through that makes his behavior justified or even understandable. Everyone else in the circus has lost someone too. There's nothing about Jax that makes him special or unique. His behavior is not something that comes as the natural result of unresolved trauma. It's an active decision. I think it's regressive and frankly insulting that so many people are excusing his behavior as just a mental health thing. Gooseworks is not trying to excuse his behavior and is actively trying to make it very clear that he is a very active participant in the way that he acts, to the point where it is ruining the quality of her own show. But there are some people that are determined to infantilize trauma survivors, the disabled, and people with mental health struggles. They will blame everything on their condition and pretend like nothing they've done is their own fault, and I'm sick of it. I once had a friend that I really liked. We clicked really well with each other, and I cared about them so much. They would do little things that hurt my feelings, but I always excused it. They've got autism, I told myself. They probably just don't realize how rude they come off. And then one day, while I was walking to the bus stop, I told them a joke that didn't go over well. Not even a risky one. And they abandoned me in the street right there and never talked to me again. They didn't let me apologize or explain myself. One moment they were there, and the next it was like they were dead. It traumatized me forever to know that somebody that I loved so much could care so little about me, and that they would cut me off entirely over a single sentence. I was no longer a person to them because I said something that they didn't like, and I haven't made a single friend since that incident. I stopped talking to acquaintances that I had been developing friendships with. After a while, I stopped talking to my family, my friends, online friends too. I was terrified of getting attached to another person. I kept around only my best friend, who I've known through the worst parts of my life when I was the worst version of myself. I've opened up a bit since then, and I have more friends now, but I found that I don't care about people the same way that I used to. I've always been low empathy, and I've always kept my problems close to my chest, but it's different now. Now I don't tell anyone about my feelings, and I found that I no longer care about the struggles of my own friends and family. They come to me and tell me their problems, many of which are very serious, and I don't care. But you know what? I'm not Jax. Just because I don't care about much of anything anymore doesn't mean they need to know. If memorizing a script and letting them think that I give a damn about anything that they're saying makes them feel better, good. I don't want anyone walking away thinking that Jax is a narcissist or a sociopath or a psychopath or just a traumatized little boy. He wants to be one so bad. He wants to think that he's smarter than everyone else, that he's got the system figured out, that he's taken the red pill. He's not. He's an incel. The only time I have genuinely felt bad for Jax is in episode 5, when it became clear to me just how alone he is. He is one of the only people in the cast that has a strong drive for competition and action, and there is no one else that shares in his more masculine hobbies and drives. The only other man in the cast is Kinger, who's crazy off his rocker. I can't imagine how isolating that would feel. If I was in that situation, I'm certain I would be quick to lash out too. Loss is something that can be worked through with time. Being isolated and alone is not. I feel bad that Jax is alone. I don't feel bad that his friend died. Ultimately, I think the greatest sin that this episode commits is just being plain boring. There was quite a bit of dead air where there was no sound or speaking, all of which could have been cut out. These parts felt like a misguided attempt to slow the pace down and get almost a Studio Ghibli type feel. The reason why moments of quiet in Studio Ghibli work and that these don't is because Studio Ghibli movies are set in or near nature. These moments are meant to embrace the stillness and beauty of nature, or alternatively, when they're happening in less beautiful environments, to show off the beauty of the animation and immerse you in the world. The environments in the Amazing Digital Circus are nothing special. In fact, I find them quite garish and ugly, though I think that fits with the aesthetic of the show. There is also no ambiance or even just music to listen to during these moments, so it's just a quiet void. I would like to say that these do nothing for the show except waste time, but that isn't fully true. Characters are usually at least doing things during these moments. I don't understand though why the director has chosen to have characters do things in complete silence with jarring cuts between, then have the characters talk to each other while having nothing to do directly afterward. It would have been better to have the characters walk and talk so it feels like there's a little bit more happening and so we save a little bit more time. Kinger and Kane were the only good parts of this episode. I found myself increasingly rolling my eyes at the dumb interpersonal drama between the boring lesbians and the platonic love triangle. Does this mean that the characters are poorly written? No, I think that all of the characters' actions and psychologies make perfect sense. I just think this episode was so poorly made. So what would I do to fix this? I don't like to criticize things unless I've thought of a way to problem solve. When you're writing, you're going to have plot holes, contrivances, and bad pacing come up. It's just what happens. A bad writer will leave these in, a good writer will problem solve to correct them. The problem that we have in this episode is that it's mostly emotional beats, which means that those emotional beats have to hit, because if they don't, your audience is going to be rolling their eyes and losing interest. The beginning can be preserved in its entirety. The beginning was perfect. Ragatha and Kinger's interaction with the butterfly was also perfect. The first thing I would change would be for Jax and Pomni to be talking while they look for the gun, so that the scene doesn't feel like it comes to a grinding halt when they start talking philosophy. Like I said earlier, Jax should be making comparisons to video games rather than cartoons, so it doesn't feel meta to the point of being cringe-inducing. Characters being aware that they're in a show or video game has become a very played-out trope. Seeing Jax talk about being a cartoon character in the year 2025 is like seeing a 45-year-old man in a ponytail and skinny jeans. The world has moved on, but not enough for a resurgence to be fashionable. My next important change would be to cut most of the boring lesbian scene. Instead, start like normal with Gangle being worried about Jax being upset, and instead of talking about their emotional problems for the upteenth time, Gangle and Zooble should instead start brainstorming a plan of action to get them first. That way we can see a different side to their personalities, and the scenes will flow together better. Everything with Kinger can remain the exact same, all of that was great. Everything after where Zooble and Gangle are trying to kill Jax and Pomni was also great. I would just want to extend this scene a little bit now that we've made more room for it. Instead of cutting right into the action, I think it would be a good idea for Zooble and Gangle to instead have led Pomni and Jax into a trap. And while they still lose, it would be a marvelous death. In this scene though, since Jax has already lost one heart by this point, I think it could be interesting if he picked up Pomni and threw her into a bullet, which loses her a heart but also knocks over Zooble. I think that could be a really good way to hint at just how selfish and terrible Jax is. He treats all of this like a game, but he's also deeply competitive and doesn't care if anyone else has fun so long as he wins. It could also show like even if you go with Jax and do what Jax wants, he's still not going to be nice to you. He would play this off to Pomni is no big deal or an accident or something, and we go right back into the action. Then we'll have Zooble's death exactly the same. That scene was also excellent. Now the hard scene to correct, Jax's crash out. This one is hard to sum up and make comparisons back and forth between my version and the actual version, so let me just write it out. Please forgive my voice acting. I suppose this is the part where we betray each other. Ha! Huh? Oh yeah, you can betray me. Oh, I thought this was going to be a mutual thing. Nah, go on, do it! Well, now I don't want to. The moment's gone. Oh, come on. I thought you were cool. I guess we'll just have to be winners together then, as a team. Pfft. Team, yeah, sure. Whatever makes you happy. What's that supposed to mean? We are a team, aren't we? This time? Sure. For this game? Yeah. I'll probably pair up with Gangle again next time. But I thought we were bonding. I mean, not really, but it was funny while it lasted. Now, are you going to shoot me, or can I go back to my room? Did I do something wrong? You sound like Ragatha right now. It's not that serious. But we were doing well. We were having fun and talking and... Do it. If I shoot you right now, are we still going to be friends afterwards? I don't keep friends. What about all that stuff you told me? You mean the truth? Yeah, I tell that to everyone. I'm not talking about today. I'm talking about the stargazing adventure. You were vulnerable with me about Ragatha. You mean to tell me that you just go around telling everyone about how you feel? Are you coming on to me? I'm sure a straight couple would go over great with fans. Oh my god, can you take this seriously? Can you take anything seriously? Your head is 6 times the width of your arms and you weigh 20 pounds. You reached out to me, not the other way around. You're just going to pretend that didn't happen? You're the first new thing this circus has seen in years. You think I'm not going to go and read through the whole dialogue tree? Is this why you didn't show up to Kaufmo's funeral? No, why would I waste my time like that? You're scared. You're scared that you'll actually feel a real human emotion. I'm scared I'll be bored to tears. Have you ever thought that this might be what causes people to abstract in the first place? Oh my god! Are you seriously blaming me for something that happens to everyone? You didn't even know him! You don't even know what people are like before they abstract. They are not pleasant to be around. Like, at all! Are you gonna shoot me or what? If I abstracted tomorrow, what would you do? I would move on and probably forget about you. Okay. Okay. I understand. Well, see you later. Ow! You're not the funny one! What, over one bad joke? I make so many jokes every day, they're not all gonna land. And then he gets his rear end handed to him. What's wrong with you? Why didn't you fight back? Why are you being so emotional? It's a game. It's a game. It doesn't matter. And then the episode continues as normal. Though for Jax's panic attack, I'd probably let him smile for all of it. The disappearing guy gag was amazing, and the only time that I've actually seen a joke come directly after a serious moment without undercutting the emotion. In the rewrite of the scene, the main goal was to make minor adjustments to the dialogue so it's not as hammy and there's a teeny bit more of a gray area about whether or not Jax cares. I mostly want him to be doing a better job deflecting and playing things down so that he doesn't come off as a try-hard incel, actually coping instead of pretending to cope. Here's to hoping that the next episode will be a return to quality. Every show has to have a worst episode, and I'm praying that it's this one. I look forward to the next one. Thank you everyone so much for watching. I have merch, I take commissions, and an extra special thank you goes out to my patrons, JRDS, CDN Redneck 05, Immortal Jesse, Mercer Scott Holt, Stephen Drake, The Fun Guy, Chase Johnson, Honey, Jay Draws, and Silent Savvy. Thank you again so much for watching, and don't forget to pretend like you don't care about the like button. Bye-bye!
Welcome to the digital circus.
Kane, what are we doing right now?